Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm Ani Arsan. I am the head of platform strategy in TikTok. I come from a long background of marketing. I used to work in Procter & Gamble, and then in the last year I moved to TikTok. We're going to talk today about the tech paradox and how people love to hate tech. And given that I'm from TikTok, I think it's very clear where I skew. However, I want to hear different opinions and hear you guys out and see what your thoughts are. This is a fishbowl session. So what happens in this format is basically it's an inverted panel. So I will ask you questions, and the richness of the discussion will be based on the answers we get from you. So I'm really looking forward to your participation. Let's start quickly by talking about the topic. Yeah, the topic is about the tech paradox, the fact that we complain a lot about tech. However, we spend so much time on it. The fact that you can't live with it, but you can't live without it. So what I would like to do is I would like to talk about three things. One, tech in general and in the really broad sense of the word. Two, social media, so we'll zoom in a bit. And three, we'll move to entertainment and to how some platforms, including TikTok, have kind of found that sweet spot. Cool? Everyone's clear? Okay, so let's start with a little poll. Very simple question. Tech, but I mean tech here in the really broad sense of the word, not just the tech on our phones or laptops. So by a show of hands, I'm going to ask tech good or bad. Now I know the answer is not very clear-cut, but where do you skew in your perspective on tech? Who thinks tech is good? Okay, overwhelming majority. So let's start with that. If you could raise your hand, we'll give you a mic. Just tell us your name, where you come from, and let's start answering the question. Tech, good or bad, and why? It's going to be very lonely if no one raises their hand. Thank you.
Hi everyone. My name is Han Ting. I'm coming from Sashi and Sashi. I think tech is great. It's very utilitarian, first of all, at this day and age, and that's a very broad sense of the word I'm using right now. Utility comes from getting your food delivered, getting your services to your house, and also from the perspective of being entertained, being productive in terms of work. I think those are the two kind of perspectives that people often overlook nowadays, especially entertainment, whether it's one-way entertainment or interactive entertainment in the form of gaming or anything like that. I think it's a great way moving forward, especially in the kind of shitty world that we live in right now. It's very much needed nowadays. TikTok, of course, as well. So yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sarah from TikTok.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Annie. I think tech is a good thing. It helps bridge a lot of things, be it on a personal level, like connections with your loved ones, or on a professional level, increasing productivity and helping you connect and have access to lots of things that could help you on so many levels. So yeah.
Thanks, Sarah. So we have a similar theme of kind of making life more convenient and connecting with loved ones.
Hi, I'm Lewis from Leopold.
Hello.
I think since we're talking about tech in its broadest sense right at this stage, I would say it allows us to do things that humans do cheaper, better, and faster.
Very good. In fact, when you talk about it in the broader sense of the word, I would include things like the car that got us here today, right? Planes, medicine, you know. I agree. Go ahead.
I think it helps in multitasking and multiversing in the sense that you can be in different places at the same time and you can do different things at the same time. So if Michael here is not interesting, I can be watching you on TikTok, or if I don't want to be here, I can be somewhere else at the same time. So
thank you. Michael, you want to say something? Anyone else want to shed perspective? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Saurabh from Memob. I think it's because of tech that I'm sitting here able to see you talk. And this really comes from what I experienced during the pandemic. I was confined in a cubicle for about 1.5 to 2 years. And if it wasn't for biotech, we would not have those vaccines. We would not be able to go out and about once again.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anyone have something bad to say about tech?
Hi, how are
Hello.
you? I'm Rosina. I'm from Saatchi and Saatchi. I think tech is not good or bad. I think it's a tool, and like any powerful tool, we need to be really careful about how we use it. And I think that the reason I would say I'm leaning towards the idea that tech is bad is that even though it empowers us and it allows us to do stuff, what it is taking from us, I don't think we're always aware as consumers and users about how unequal that exchange is, right? So yes, TikTok will entertain me very well, love being entertained by TikTok, but it's also taking my time and my data, and I'm not sure that the laugh is worth it, ultimately.
Thank you. I think that's very fair. In fact, the way you started is very interesting. I was reading a quote from a writer and PhD grad. He said exactly what you said. Tech is neither good, bad, nor neutral. People are, right? So it's how you use tech that kind of drives if it ends up being good or bad. I fully agree with that. And in fact, I think there are two things. There's how you use tech and where we are on the adoption curve. Believe it or not, when newspapers, something we don't think of as tech, were first launched, there was a public outcry because, it's funny actually, because people were afraid it would replace stimulating morning discussions, literally, that's what it said. But now newspapers are just the old thing. So I believe there are two things that work sometimes for or against tech. First, that's how humans use them. And second is where we are in the adoption curve. Anyone else want to give some perspective on tech before we move to chapter 2? Please go ahead. You want to try without the mic?
I can try without the mic.
Go
I've
ahead.
got a loud voice. So I'm Akriti from Leobanet, and I think back to Rosina's point, it's not just what tech is taking away from you, but maybe also what tech is giving you. And today we're getting so much content and so much information from the technology around us. What is happening with the echo chambers that is creating? What is happening with the extremist point of views that technology may be creating? Because again, the previous conversation we had in this room was about personalization and how the more you are leaning towards a certain point of view, the more you're receiving that kind of content, right? And essentially you're going down a deeper tunnel. And I think, back to your point, it's not just how humans are using technology, but also the algorithms of technology and where companies and platforms are taking the responsibility of making sure that there's equal information being shared.
Yeah, so true, because misinformation is not just something you see on TV, let's say, anymore. It's something that you get and you keep getting, and it just makes you even more fanatic about the point of view. That's very fair. And I think there's an educational point here. I believe as we empower people in school right now, kids, to get into this new world, there is this phenomenon. We need to also teach critical and analytical thinking so that we're going to get exposed to more and more information. Now, our generation saw it as adults, right, or as teens, let's say, but the younger generation is going to see it as kids, and they're going to have to develop that muscle. Any other points of view about tech? Okay, let's make this, I feel, is going to get more interesting. Let's talk about social media. So now we're going to zoom in from tech broadly to social media. Show of hands, social media is good. Okay, so thank you that's what I was expecting, so I'm glad that happened. But you noticed that when we said tech, all hands went up, approximately all hands. Now we have less than, say, 20% of the room that say social media is good. So let's talk about that. Social media, knowing that people spend on average, globally, 2.5 hours on social media every day. Now this is with a penetration of 50%, because you have, for example, countries like Africa with very low penetration. So if you adjust for penetration, you adjust for very young, very old, you're going to get, say, 4 hours of social media a day. 4 hours out of 16 waking hours, that's a quarter of our day on social media, right? Go down in age, teens, 7 hours on social media. That's half their day, right? So let's talk about this place where we spend so much time. Good or bad, and why? Any hands? Go ahead. We have a hand. Oh, no need for a mic. Go ahead.
I'm in the middle. I do think it's really beneficial in terms of if you use it at face value for what it's meant to be, that social platform. It allows you to connect with people that you went to school with uni with, that many moons ago you weren't able to keep those connections or learn what people were still doing and keep in contact. On the flip side of that, without being managed and understanding what happens on those platforms and how it can become a detrimental place, particularly for mental health and all of the other purposes, it can be a really dangerous and not so good place.
Yeah, thank you. Any other perspectives, or maybe comments on the good and the bad facets of social media? Go ahead.
I think just to build on that, so I'm Mosh from the internet. It's what social media means for you, and I think it's very interesting because people connect on social media for different reasons, right? So it could be someone who now has the opportunity of being an influencer, and that becomes a medium of business. It could be someone else. I mean, to your point on, you use that as a way to connect to people far away, because we're in a very different world where you no longer live in the same place that you were born in. And I think it's tricky with social media. It's what it means for you, and because there's a very unique relationship that everyone shares and why they would be on these platforms. That's what I think the watch out is in terms of how it evolves, because it's just branching out and it's meaning more and more. Of course, I think in the light of, when it comes to social political topics and how it can kind of diverge the narrative through something as powerful as social media, that's where it becomes really tricky, because it just feels like there clearly is a need for that and people are spending time on the platform, but it just, I don't know, I think it's very tricky to say good and bad. It's just keeping an eye on how it branches out, because for those, I'm sure, that started with, MySpace and Orchid, like for me, even though an Instagram and Facebook have evolved, my relationship with them and what I do on them has stayed the same. But that's not needless to say that that's the case, for anyone else that would be different.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, the reason I think I put my hand up, the tech is good, social media is bad, right? And I think that's because over time, my relationship with social media has changed.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was younger, when it first started, the emphasis was very much on the social aspect of it. The emphasis is now very much on the media aspect of it, and how do we, as marketers and brands, monetize a platform? And for me, that's taken something away from it, and it's not a good thing. I think it goes back to what Akriti was saying earlier. As you do that, it creates this sense of groupthink, right? And that's not a good point of view.
Yeah.
As you may have been informed.
Go ahead.
Exactly, we're both Leo. It's tricky because again, for some, when you look at monetization of media, that's how people have, brands or homegrown brands that have gotten the opportunity to become brands that would just typically be a business through social media.
Yeah.
I think there's no wrong or right.
No, absolutely.
Very, very tricky.
Absolutely. Any other points of view? Sally, go ahead.
I think I agree. I said tech is good, social media is bad.
Mhm.
I am biased, but I'd say like the whole culture. I think is very toxic when it comes to influencers. I know a lot of them were able to build their brand, but it's also become toxic because it's about your network, right? So it's really not about what you can give to the world. So personally, it gives me zero added value, whereas I get added value from tech. I get zero added value from social media. And I remember speaking of articles, which is a point the team from the Urbanet was saying, she says it's the age of anti-social social media. So whatever was social about social media in the end is now kind of dying and actually taking the opposite part. It's really no longer social anymore. It feels like it's almost curated and not personalized and quite toxic.
Very interesting. The whole curated. We've had discussions with many people who use social media, and it's funny because we talked a lot about the positives of social media being about connecting people, right? And I stay connected, and most of us here are expats, so we stay connected with family back home. That's great, but then you think about what you're seeing on social media, and to Sally's point on being curated, a lot of people say, I come into social media and I leave it feeling worse than when I had entered. Basically, they leave it feeling, my life sucks, right? All these people that I follow, their lives looks so cool, they're traveling, they're doing this, they're doing that. And there is that feeling, whether you're a teen, an adult, whoever you are, that feeling stays, and it's been linked to depression, it's been linked to, feeling bad overall. Feeling not enough, like you're not enough. So with that in mind, I feel like there's this dichotomy between, hey, social media is to connect people, it's the social piece of it. But when I connect with people, I just feel like shit, right? So the question to you is, this connecting people, what are your takes on it? And what's the role that social media plays within that? Go ahead.
Social media, when it first came about, Facebook, wherever you want to draw the line, right? It might have been about connecting people at the start, but it's not now. If you look at the vast majority of content, where's the money from social media from, and where the social media platforms generating their money from? It's not from connecting people. It's from all the other stuff that's happened to it, the brands, the business, etc., which is, it seems, what most people are saying is the bad part. So this idea that this utopian thing that social media is all about connecting people, it's not. That's very idealistic and very long gone view, I think, of social media.
But then, what does connect people? I mean, a local bar or a local coffee shop or a local library makes its money selling coffee, right? But it does connect people. So sometimes connecting people is a byproduct of an actual business. Right?
Yeah.
That's no different from social media.
It's not different, it's just a different application of it. But again, if you look like on the balance of social media is wonderful. I can pick out my phone now, text my mum right now and say, hi, how are you doing? You okay? Wonderful application of messaging technology, let's say. But on the balance of that, forwards and, fake news, or what you call it, is a really, really toxic application of the same technology. I know it's not just because Regina's sitting next to me, it's exactly true. It's not about the tech, it's about people using it, and it's the people that are bad, right? Or the people who exploit the technology. But the exploitation of that technology has gone so far beyond the good uses, which is why I was, team tech good, social media bad. Technology, look at things like mapping technology, Google Maps. What an incredible application of technology.
could send you to a dead end in Dubai, but in places where the roads don't change every 5 minutes, it's generally pretty good. But if you look at kind of all the perverse uses, which a lot of it is propagated about social media or social media platforms as we know them, is pretty problematic, I think.
One thing to your point just now is that when you're in the coffee shop and you're connecting, okay, yes, something is being sold, but you are not being sold. That's the important part. And I think on social media, that is where human beings become the product being sold, inadvertently and often without consent. So we went to the, the panel on data privacy and all of this kind of stuff, and I think, not to take over, but I think the problem I see, the biggest problem with social media is that it's ending up creating an almost techno-feudal state, right? So we're no longer in like late-stage capitalism. That has sort of given away to, a tech aristocracy, right? That holds all of our digital real estate. And when you click accept all, it's not because you don't mind. It's because you're powerless. You have no option, right? What are you going to do? Are you going to not read The Guardian, right? When there's a war going on? You know what I mean? Like, we've actually come to a state where our hands are completely bound and tied. And, the organization that you represent, TikTok, is like, I think, a great example of the smartest way, to have people on that platform. It's so entertaining. But I come from a country where they tell you to be careful of people who entertain you, right? Because when you're entertained, you're also a sitting duck for whatever purpose it is that you're going to be used for. And I think we ought to be, a little scared, to be honest, and extremely careful. So that's why, let me just go out and say, tech bad, social media bad for me, because if we had technology that really empowered people, you would see a lot more regulation than we currently do.
Go ahead, Sally.
I think to build on their points, I think the social media platforms were not built around people or for people, and so they haven't evolved with us. So while they're called social, but the way we socialize today or connect, as we were saying earlier, has changed. And so these platforms are not adapting or evolving the way we socialize. And there's an economic theory that basically says globalization is at its deathbed, and people are going back into more intimate conversations, things that it's not just about connection across geography or across time zones, blah, blah, blah. It's actually more deeper relationships with those that are like you, those who share values with you, those who share interests with you, not just those who are 17, whatever, across the Atlantic Ocean.
Thank you. We had a... Go ahead.
I don't think there's any more something called social media, especially 4 out of the 5 big, what used to be called social media platforms, are not calling themselves anymore social media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Only 1 out of the 5 is still considered as a social platform. So people go to the platform to see content. Unfortunately, they see ads. But at the end of the day, connecting people still are back, I believe, to the old ages where they prefer to connect in closed groups instead of public groups. So it became a video platform or a feed platform, but not a social platform anymore. When Facebook started a couple of years ago, or even Twitter started, where people used to connect on the public space, it's not anymore. Like, each platform has its own USP as a digital platform, not as a social media platform.
Okay, thank you. Any other point? Go ahead.
Actually, the irony is that I'm a heavy user of social media, but I'm not a fan of social media as it, because I would say, coming back to your point of disconnecting with the people, right? Today, I think that when I was a kid or I was very young, what I used to connect with is actually going out with friends, having a good chat with them, going to the parks. And today, what it has changed to is going to Instagram, checking out their feeds, trying to get gossip around things, which are actually trying to, when I come face to face with that person, I'm not able to build that connection because I already have those biases. okay, this person lives a better life than me,
Yeah.
or this person is not adding up to whatever my values are. Why should I talk to them? But not even spoken to them right away. So that is the disconnect. And I would again say the irony is that I'm a heavy user, not of TikTok, no hard feelings, but yeah. That's it.
Thank you. Actually, you bring up a very interesting point, because the majority of what has been talked right now is all negative towards social media, which I think there's a certain consensus that, but who spends an hour on social media every day? Yeah, I'm just making it easier. Yeah, no, like 1 hour or more, right? So with that, why? I would love to understand that you and me, us, who are saying this, but then we are spending the time. So what's drawing us in?
I think that's like asking an alcoholic or a drug addict if heroin or alcohol is good or bad, and then asking them if they drink or take drugs. It's got an addictive quality, right? And I think that's the honest answer. It's an addictive behavior.
It's easy, right?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Last night, for example, I just went to bed, everything went to bed, and I didn't want to, and I wanted to do something, and I ended up trying to get into TikTok to understand it. So I ended up spending 40 minutes mindlessly going through weird videos on TikTok, and at the end, I didn't feel, like at the end I thought, you know what, if I'd actually just like read or I don't know, even watched something more like like anything basically, other than spending that much time just mindlessly looking at weird people doing dances that I don't understand. And it's like in that second that you're maybe for a split second entertained, but like literally at the end of it, it was like time for me to go to sleep, and now I'm like, oh great, it's way past later than I wanted to sleep, and I don't feel I've benefited from it. It's like getting to your point, like it's like the low after you've been drinking then, and the hangover, and you're like, oh shit, like I just feel like crap.
You know, I read somewhere, sorry, I'll get back to you, but I read somewhere that social media is like social snacking, to your point. It's like junk food. You feel good for a few minutes, and then after you just regret it, and it leaves you feeling low. So I think yours is better, but yeah. Go ahead.
Also, like asking anyone why they're doing social media, particularly people who spend an hour a day or longer on social media, we actually don't know why we do it, because the platform's designed to do it. So we're not in control largely of how much time we're spending on it, because the platforms are designed to keep us on it. That's what we're seeing. The ad revenue, it's in the eyeballs, it's in the impressions, and all those kind of things, which is what is monetizing on platforms. So, this idea that it's just simply an accident, or somehow we have the answer to why we're doing it, we don't, because the people who designed the news feeds and the algorithms and all of that are basically far smarter and built it in that way to keep us hooked. So yeah, like big tobacco, like anything, like that, it's been designed that way. So we're not in control of spending an hour a day or how long we do it.
Very true.
I don't think it's fair to think of time spent on social media as one thing. Because if I go back in time and I add up the time I would spend at a book club, and then watching the news, and then catching up with friends on the phone, and then at the local pub or whatever, catching up with friends. If I add all of these up, this is really what I'm doing in many ways on social media. So it's really unfair to think of it as this one addiction, or it might be an addiction, but it's many addictions that you might have in life that are being expressed in this new way. I used to spend 3 hours with a kid over the phone with my girlfriend or with my friends, right? It's the same thing. Now I'm doing it in just more in a new fashion.
Yeah.
You get the same satisfaction though from spending a few hours on Instagram or TikTok versus actually connecting or seeing your girlfriend or going for a coffee. I think these are the things that I'm sorry to interrupt. But yeah, I really like the coffee shop example that you said. And if I'm to take that metaphor to the social world, it's like the coffee shop is making you have 20 coffees in a row. So you can keep watching, like they keep creating some
5 seconds. Back to news, back to, yeah, the trending dance or whatever. And also, I don't see it as that clear cut anymore. I do all these activities at once and one after the other.
I mean, I totally understand also like all of these social platforms came after Facebook, which started as somewhere in the university trying to connect people together. Okay, but all the platforms that came after are trying to like taking all the media and let's see how we can counter that and create our own stuff. So to me, all the platforms that came after are very opportunistic on spreading that media spend over others. And yeah, it came with a price that all people have to spend a lot more time on those social platforms rather than actually connecting in real life or spending more time on other things that they believe are important. And that's why you're left with that hangover feeling or junk food after effects. But at the end of the day, also, like if we look, we are not looking at the positives, we are looking at the negatives at all times. And the window that these platforms have opened to us in the real world on being able to, to look at content and art and business and so on, it's like we won't be here today, we won't be the same beings that we are today, and how much we're educated and how many things we know in so many different categories and and sectors of life. And so to me, there's a very beneficial thing about social media and what it's open to us as a generation and as a world altogether. But yes, we're left with that negative that we really need to work on. If we are good as human beings, then we try to be less profitable and more humane. But I think that's left for the successful.
You had a question? You had a statement?
Yeah.
Yes, Sarah.
I just wanted to say that sometimes it's okay to waste a bit of time getting entertained. Like, we spend so much time at work, and yeah, we do go to a coffee shop and see that friend, we do connect with the family, but sometimes you just want to sit by yourself and get entertained. And I'm not saying that go on Instagram, feel bad, and log out. I might be a bit biased, but for example, if I go on TikTok, if I just spend 30 minutes, I leave feeling happy. I've laughed for at least 15 minutes out of these 30 minutes, and I might be seeing a couple of dances here and there just because I like dancing, but at the same time I'm also seeing content that I like and that entertains me, and this is how the algorithm works. So bottom line is, it's okay to waste 30 minutes or even an hour a day just doing nothing, laughing at a screen, because we do need that as human beings. We need to sit alone. We need to have this time for ourselves, seeing something that we like, and not feel bad about it, that, yeah, I could have read a book, or I could have watched a documentary, or could have called my mom. No, it's okay. Sometimes this is exactly what we need to just like sleep and wake up feeling refreshed.
So Sarah and I both work at TikTok. The good thing is when we're wasting time at TikTok, we're working. So we're good. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm going to get there. Thank you. So I've done a lot of research based on my job, but also for this Fishbowl discussion today. And I found a lot of negative about social media. We'll get to TikTok later, but let's talk about social media in general. So, and the biggest, from my research at least, and a lot of what you said is that there is this feeling of lack of satisfaction. There's the hangover feeling, which I'm going to use from now on. It's really cool. So there's that social media hangover feeling. And that happens when you go in. You go in because you want to spend some time. You want to get entertained. But you leave with a bad feeling. It's like, I don't know, you want to go out with a friend, you go out, the friend is so negative, and the friend is so boring, whatever. You come out feeling not so refreshed. In fact, it was better if you hadn't gone out, right? So they've done a lot of studies on this, right? I don't think this is a new topic. So, and they have found that spending mindless hours browsing, so not actively sending your mom, hey, how are you doing? And she's like, or good night, or whatever. That's a bit more active. But the whole passive scrolling, doom scrolling they call it, just scrolling through social media, leaves you feeling bad, right, in a nutshell. Human connection gives you the certain hormones that make you happy. But that social media has not been able to achieve, because that happens face to face. That happens in a room when we're sitting talking to each other. That gives you the energy. But studies have shown that the social media, mindless scrolling, actually does the exact opposite. So then the question, and my point of view here is, okay, you enter with an expectation, but you go out with something else, with something negative. And I want to talk about here two things, and then I'll share how TikTok fits into these. So you enter with a desire to spend a few minutes, get entertained by other people or not, whatever it is, or get to know about, you're talking about books, about the newest books, or get to know some news. You enter with an expectation. Now the thing is, you're getting served, instead of what you want, you're getting served what the people you're following. Social media is based on a social graph. So if I follow you, then I get exposed to the content that you're seeing, right? I want to get exposed to the content that I like. So if I want to be entertained, I need an algorithm that gives me stuff I like. So I tell you, I'm an avid reader of books. So in fact, when I am, let's take Amazon for a second. You know how Amazon, you buy something and they tell you, okay, I think you'd be interested in this, right? This is curated to you. If you're buying something, the same thing, it probably will not give you the same thing because they know that my previous is, I like that. I like that it's personalized. I think the session before this one was talking about personalization. And it's catered to me. So that's one. So first of all, as me, as Annie, when I go into social media, I'm looking for something different than Sarah, than Sally. That's one. And then the second thing, where I'm not getting satisfied and I'm feeling bad, is I'm getting views of people's lives that are highly curated, that are highly not accessible. And I have a friend that tells me a story of a couple. They were having lunch together, and the couple was bickering all the time. No, you take the kids. No, you do that. And then they just smile, take a picture for Instagram and post it. And then if I'm watching, I'm like, wow, what a nice life, what a lovely family. But in fact, behind the scenes, it's not that. And you remember about, this was even before COVID, there was this trend of social media versus reality. And you'd see people in the gym and they look awesome. And for anyone who's been to the gym, no one looks awesome, right? And then you see social media, full makeup, and the women look awesome. And then I'm looking at myself in the gym, and then I get the picture of reality. And reality is she's sweaty, her hair looks terrible. I mean, this is reality. So people slowly are rebelling against fake. And we're seeing that. Think of the beauty industry, arguably one of the fakest of the fake. We had the whole anti-Photoshop trend, right? We have now plus-size models. 10 years ago, that was inconceivable. Everybody needed to look perfect on screen, right? So the point is, we, as humans, are rebelling against fake. So you have this intersection of anti-fake sentiments, we want authentic, and I want entertainment, and I want it catered to me. And this is, at least, this is obviously a very biased point of view, because I have chosen to move to TikTok because I believe in the platform. So listen to it with a pinch of salt, knowing that I'm biased. But this is what we believe is the secret to success for TikTok. This is the secret recipe. Because TikTok has been growing faster than any platform. It took us 5 years to reach 1 billion users globally. It took the others an average of a decade. Why? Because you have an anti-fake rebellion happening, and there's a platform where you celebrate your flaws, where acne is not, here, how's that? This is how I remove my acne. It's like, this is what I look like when I have acne. This is what I look like. So it's very much an expression of, hello world, this is who I am, take it or leave it, which I personally love. So you have authenticity at the core of it. There is no curated, perfect families. You will find a few, but you just skip through them and you stop getting them. Which leads me to my second point, entertainment. I go in and I leave feeling, like Sarah was saying, I had some fun. You know, I enjoyed it, I laughed a little, and now I can go back to whatever it is that I'm doing. Actually, I don't feel, we actually don't believe it's social media, because it doesn't serve me. I could follow you, but I never get to see your content, because it's not based on that. It's based on what I like. If someone likes cars, they're getting served, my husband loves cars. So he gets served content based. You look at my feed, it has 0 cars because I just skip through them. I don't watch them. I have a lot of stand-up comedy because I find it funny, right? And the nice thing is, for me, it's like Netflix, right? It's just, you know, short form. I sit with my husband and we watch it together. We scroll through it. You know, I make fun of his feed, he makes fun of my feed, and so the whole feel, you don't leave, I at least, and we've seen users don't leave feeling worse than where they entered. So it's having 2 glasses of wine, having a lot of fun and going home and remembering a beautiful night. There is no hangover. Go ahead.
If that's the way that TikTok sees itself, why wouldn't it follow a monetization strategy similar to a Netflix and not similar to a Facebook?
Because it doesn't work, right? The way the platform is designed, I mean, we can discuss the details if you want offline, but at the end of the day, let me tell you again from my point of view, personally, if the cost of me being entertained is not a subscription, it's ads that come up, win-win, I'm entertained, right? I have the option to skip them, and anyone here as a brand also gets money out of that. But obviously, I mean, this is a whole different discussion, but obviously how you do your ads has to fit this ecosystem. You can't go and, hey, buy the new, it doesn't work, right? It has to fit in the way it's being done so that it feels, I mean, it's not native, obviously, but it feels as native as possible. We can help a lot. We have a whole team dedicated to that so that you see something, you like it. Think of it like, I don't know, I'm walking with Sally, she has a new bag, where'd you get it? Okay, I go online and I buy it. That is not media of any kind, that's a connection. I find something, I like it, she's wearing it, I ask her, I get it. For me, I'm entertained, I'm watching something, and then I get an ad, right? It's not, it's not ideal, but without ads, there will be nothing, right? There will be no social media, there will be no TikTok, there will be no anything. So the model would not work on a subscription basis for the model currently for TikTok. So I know I don't answer fully your question, but we can do that offline. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Well, thank you. Who else would like to give some provocation questions? We have a few TikTokers here, so, careful. No, I'm joking. Go ahead.
I would like to believe that every social platform started off with good intention,
Mm-hmm.
right? As TikTok started off with the simple intention of wanting to entertain people. But we know that it is being used for more than that. We've seen Trump rallies, being Trump because of what happened on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
There's good, there's bad. What can a platform like TikTok do to ensure that its intentions are still intact?
Mm-hmm.
And at what stage, are humans in control? And at what stage is the platform responsible for how it's being used?
Listen, the platform is responsible in all cases, right? If you post something, I'm going to make it indecent, I as a platform are responsible to not let that go out, right? So we have created all the systems to not allow that. So internally, if you want, the way we operate it's our responsibility. Obviously, there are things that happen that we have to manage as they happen, like everything in life, right? But it is, you're saying to what extent social media in general, even beyond TikTok, is a space for people to express themselves, right? And as an individual, you have freedom of speech. Now, then it's about what I let, and this is a problem faced by everyone, right? By Meta, by what goes out, what doesn't go out. Now, there's a whole, section in the company, a lot of people, a lot of brains, a lot of technology behind being able to safeguard the consumer. And I'd love to take you to that. We can do that separately. But in essence, if I had to just answer your question quickly, we hold the responsibility. We take it very seriously. Let me just take it like that. Take it very seriously. And, it's a new company. We all came in very passionate about it. And as such, there's a lot of, we've had this. We have a WhatsApp group where we're talking, right? And then we see something, automatically we tell each other, automatically it's escalated. So everybody feels the responsibility to keep this as, to keep the integrity in the platform. Go ahead.
I think it's all well and good that you take it seriously, but you're still a private company, and all these platforms are private companies. So there's always going to be a point when your objectives don't correlate with what's best for society, countries, or other public goods. there's a bit which is you're private companies, but often present yourselves as public goods. So, I don't know, it's nice that you care, but I think people in this room are aware of more of the Facebooks and the Instagram problems of knowingly allowing things to happen because it's much more profitable. Surely it's a point that these things just have to be regulated and just have to be out of your hands, because you'll always get to that point where you have to make a decision about profits versus good. Yeah, so so the whole ecosystem of how TikTok works and how we ensure, there's brand safety, there's safety of the consumer and all that. I would love to have a discussion. I would love to have it with the people that are, not in strategy, but in that department, so that they can give you a lot more. So I would love to bring the questions back to, the fact, social media, tech, and then entertainment and authenticity. But still within that, yes, there are times you need to make choices. And I think if you go back to articles, you will see the stand that TikTok has taken over and over again. And you're saying all these platforms are private. They're not, actually. They're public, most of them, and they have a lot of pressure from, Wall Street and investors. We're not. So that's, it's a different profit. Yeah. But TikTok is not a charity. Of course, it's a profit. Of course, I want to get my salary at the end of the day, right? So yes. But you can, it's short-term and long-term thinking. Let me end it at that. It's short-term and long-term thinking. And there are companies that want an immediate win, gives you a profit. We see what happens to these companies. And there are companies that want the long-term win. And that will become, the prerogative of the company itself. And we can take this offline if you would like. But I would like to bring back the question, the discussion to entertainment in general. TikTok in specific, I'm happy to take questions about TikTok, but more points of view of how do you feel about this? And do you feel that, same thing, it's the same like social media, same negatives, or do you have a different point of view? Go ahead.
I don't know whether it's a bias or something, but again, old school thinking. When the advertisers used to do something for their brand and trying to, create that impact for the brand, for which I used to see an ad on a billboard, on a TV platform or a radio, but that was far from me, right? Now it's in my hands.
Yes.
Like, that scare of being so close, that sometimes gives that feeling that, okay, am I making some choices which are not for me just because I see it on my phone? So, because when, let's say it's a mass strategy, or when we see something which is afar, like on TV or on billboards, it is not maybe it's not right, then I make a decision. But when it's on my phone, okay, buy now.
Yes.
So yeah, I do understand that some platforms are making good use of it by personalizing, but few platforms might not be, it gives unwanted needs, maybe, that creates this negative feeling for social media.
Yeah.
And I do understand that people are the control. Like I, as a person, I will restrict myself to 2 hours of using social media. But a teenager who is like right now joined social media, who just get entertained for, hours and hours, wasting his time. Not wasting his time, I know that's a very blunt word, but doing something which is unproductive at that moment.
Yeah, no, this is fair enough. I think, like everything, it's a dual-edged sword. But I tell you what I like about this. Okay, so yes, I am more tempted to buy stuff. Yes, I'm sucked into a world where I want to, and here I'm talking in general, right? With things being so easy on my phone, e-commerce. Now, to be fair with e-commerce players, they have also made it easy to return, to refund. So whatever remorse I have, I don't have to lose money. I can send it back, right? But let's take the flip side of it, because I used to be sitting in a living room and just seeing stuff. A brand never spoke to me as an individual, right? Not as a person in TikTok, just as an individual. A brand would never speak to me. I don't know if there are gamers in the room, and if you're seeing what's happening with Sony's Gran Turismo, and you see that
they did something that their fans hated, because you have to, kind of earn money and pay in-app, in-game actually. And all the fans are voicing out so hard that they have now changed their stance. So you are now able, instead of going and standing and doing a riot against a political leader, you can now riot against a brand to get what you believe is your right. And you crowdsource that because everybody believes they've been harmed. It's democracy in a way, right? It's democracy. So yes to all the negatives, but you also have a lot of positives where you democratize the voice of every individual. You are no longer at the mercy of a few TV channels who tell you what you need to watch. You can choose. You can pay extra, you can subscribe to Netflix, and so on and so forth, right? And say this, the choice is with us. To the points that were mentioned initially, the choice is with us. But then, yes, the industry is made to stimulate us to spend. The industry of food is made to stimulate us to eat a lot, right? It's based on taste buds and it's made to give pleasure. So because of that, then it's still providing a lot of entertainment for people to go out, to dine out, and choices. The point being, things come in and they have good and bad. Actually, they have nothing. They're neutral. People can take them as good as or bad. And then it's about how do you make the best out of it, And this is, I believe, what I like about tech and about social media in specific, because it gives me a voice at a time when my parents were growing up. They didn't have a voice, right? They just received. Sally, you wanted to say something?
Speaking about democratization, it's funny that when we think social media, or at least that's what I've gathered, everyone talks about brands and brands' perspectives. When I think TikTok, I don't think brands as much as I think about the user-generated content, and that's why I feel like it's more entertaining. And it's a move from creating envy on social media to actually creating entertainment on TikTok. And I think that shift is what's super important. So while some people think they're quote-unquote wasting their time, I would say you're investing in your entertainment, right? So as, let's say, if I had kids, I would, want them to do their homework, but I'd also want them to be entertained an hour later. And the thing is about entertainment is because I'm so in control of it, because I'm being given content that I want to see or I want to relate to, right? So if I'm into cats, then as you start using the platform more, you'll only be served content about cats or then pets, and then you'll be introduced to a community of pets and cats. So really, that entertainment, because it's not just about personal in the sense of technology, but it's personal and personable for me. And that's what makes it entertainment. And not obviously forgetting there's music, there's, yes, there's singing and dancing, but what's wrong with being entertained through music? And for the longest time, ads have been so silent, right? And now when you think about it, I'm like, why have they been so quiet? It sucks. But when you realize that actually there's videos that could be immersive, you're really much more entertained. So I vote for no envy and more entertainment.
Thank you, Sally. Actually, you touched on a point about communities, which is interesting because for all of you here, I know that most of you either are working with brands or represent brands. And if you've done surveys, so I've been doing surveys with consumers for 16 years now. And throughout, what's the number one? How did you hear about this product? My friend told me, right? My mom told me. My sister used it. She loved it, right? So word of mouth. And the beauty about communities is that it's word of mouth on steroids, right? I go into a community. There was a community of people who like cleaning, imagine, the what is it called? The keyboard of their laptop. So, they have specific tools, right? There's a community for everyone. But the point is, if I want to buy a car, I will go to a community that understands cars. I'm not going to go to whoever I'm following, right? I want to go to a community that understands cars. And I want to understand what's hot right now. Is it electric cars? Is it this? Is it that? And how do I choose an electric car? So you have a platform that's giving you word of mouth on steroids. You go into that community. It's user-generated content. It's not a brand telling me, hey, buy me, right? And within that, I might get an ad, yeah. But I am being more educated about the topic. Again, back to democratization of this power. I think we had a question here. You had a question? No? Okay. Go ahead.
On that topic as well, like I personally, I don't go to TikTok and Insta or of that for entertainment. I usually go for recommendation, like you were saying just now. Just if I need to get some, like my wife needed to buy a wedding gown, she went to social media. That's where she got the recommendations. If I'm trying to buy a new product, say a laptop or a phone, I use this more for recommendations rather than for entertainment. Entertainment I can get through TV series or whatever else. That's just me. But I guess it's more also on what you use it for. If you're going there for, that's a big tool or a big plus point of social media in general, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Any other points of view? I'd like to take it to the last section. What do you think, if we could imagine the future of whether it's called social media or whatever it is called, what would you like it to be? Like, what would the ideal look like? You know, if you eliminate all these negatives that you've spoken about, if we amplify the positives, what would a future social media platform look like? How would tech make your lives better? No? Good.
I think I wish for social media to become more authentic in a way, less fake, more real. Like instead of going on Instagram and seeing people celebrating something, I'd like to see someone sharing their struggles with something so I can relate to that, because let's not kid ourselves, we're struggling more than we are achieving or celebrating in life. Unfortunately, this is the way the world works. So I'd like for people to be more open about their experience and bad things, as open and unreal they are with the things they are celebrating. That could be a turning point for me for social media, because that's mainly why I may not be active on social media or like go into platform X for 2 minutes and I close it down, instead of, as opposed to when I go to TikTok or Netflix, for example. So yeah.
Thank you. You had a point of view also?
I'll try and talk louder. It just makes me sound really weird. Okay.
Thank you.
I think it'll be interesting because it'll be split, and I see it being categorized, right? Because we've heard varying views of what it means for different people, and I think our consumption patterns and our perceptions and, I would say, interactions on these platforms will form a more diversified portfolio of social media for those who like to connect, or for those who seek convenience of getting recommendations versus those that want to be entertained. It will be more diverse. It'll be interesting to see who would be, I would say, competitive enough to be inclusive, because I do believe that there are clear concerns and worries with it's not what I went going in, and then, you know, stepping out from it, it's not met my expectations. So that's the way that I see it evolving, is that it'll be a lot more diverse, because it goes back to what it means for us and our purpose behind being on these platforms.
Thank you. Any other visions of the future? Go ahead.
I believe it's all about education, and it starts and finishes with it. Because if you educate your young generation, the Z generation, if you educate them right from the start and you take the responsibility running at the social platform to educate the younger generation about what the implications are and what to use it for and where is it going to fit into their lifestyle, then you will somehow encourage them, you know, as they're growing up, to actually be more responsible, so the generation afterwards actually will inherit all the good stuff. Now, if you're already been in the generation and you grew up with Facebook and Instagram, you have a point of view and you understand it became something different what it used to be. I used to be a really heavy Facebook user. Nowadays, I will definitely phase out of it, because there is so much of a content which is not mine.
Yeah.
And I'm not genuinely interested. But if I educate myself, and then it becomes more personalized, as in it's about the books and things which are my interest, and then nobody's really judging me, I'm just using it for my education and my growth, then hypothetically, tech and social media can be yet another level that we can use and do.
That's so true. You know, you made me think of, you know, when we were young, we used to, when we had a school paper, used to have the encyclopedias at home, right? You open those. And then there was Encarta. And then there was the internet. And I remember at university there were courses of how to search and how, like if you go to a .edu or a .org, those are trustworthy, but a .com isn't. So I was educated on how to find out, wrong information and how to discern it. And yes, I believe there should be education for the younger generation so that, but beyond just how to search and stuff like that, but also how to perceive things and how to understand them. It needs to be in there so that people, don't fall into the trap of a lot of people of our generation who just shifted without the education, right? And we're just left without the tools. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I completely agree. I think education is absolutely key. And on top of that, regulation. We all know rules and how we live, but without the policing of it, it's just hoping that people align and behave. Whereas if we have the regulation on top of the education, it's then going to implement behaviours that have to stay because there are consequences to people's actions, to brands and to users who are using these platforms inappropriately.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Let me end it with, I like what Sarah said about authenticity. We were discussing in a female empowerment forum, we were discussing around the topic that we always see women who achieved, which is awesome, but we also want to hear about women who, about their failures along the way. And that's a specific example, but I believe it also applies to anything in life. I would love also to hear much more about really the struggles, about the things behind the scenes. So just to get a chance to relate with a person or with a brand, so it opens up and it becomes more human, sharing real life examples of things that we all go through. And with that, I'd like to thank you all. And if anyone wants to have side conversations, I'm here for a while. Thank you very much.